I used my trim saw and cut a small piece off of a large slab of hydrothermal lab-created emerald rough, which I had picked up in Tucson earlier this year at the Jog show. Now recently I've seen slabs of hydrothermal created emerald starting to show up with some of my favorite gem rough dealers, which is a good thing. Now what I look for when I'm buying a slab of emerald lab created rough, and from the labs I've talked to, there's two colors. There's what's called Colombian color, and there's also a deeper, richer green called the Zambian color. I've cut both colors, and both colors make great, awesome gemstones, and I have rough from both colors. The second thing I look for is how clean the slab is. The cleaner the better, although some people do want included lab-created rough, but I don't. The third thing is how thick or deep the slab is. You need a thick slab if you want to cut big honking stones. So the thickness also matters. It's harder to locate thicker slabs, by the way. So the hydrothermal method is much more expensive than the other methods of growing gemstones. So unfortunately, hydrothermal created emerald is not cheap.
So let's see what our lab created emerald looks like in refractol. So the refractol should help us look into the stone. Put some backlight on it. And this stone looking pretty good. There's an inclusion right there, but that's at the very edge, so that'll get cut out during the process of cutting our stone, so I'm not too worried about that piece. The rest of it, I don't see any other internal issues, so stone looks clean.
This is a rush order, a special order that needs to be cut and mounted into a setting before an upcoming birthday. So if you're creating and casting your own jewelry, then it really doesn't matter what length and width you cut your gemstones to, as you will be customizing the mounting, the ring, the pendant, the earring, or whatever it is, so that the gemstone fits perfectly. But there are a lot of mountings already on the market that are commercial mountings, and if you find one you like, then the gemstone has to be cut to fit into that mounting. So the finding companies, and there's many out there, they use what's called calibrated sizes for gemstones. And here's a photo of one of the many jewelry companies that stock findings or mountings. And if you want to order this mounting, in this case a pendant, you have some options regarding the type of metal you want, and more to our point, for this discussion, you have some options on the calibrated size gemstone which will fit into this pendant. If you want to order this particular pendant from the jewelry company and set your gemstone into it, you need to cut your gemstone and order the pendant of the calibrated sizes of either 6 by 4 millimeters, 7 by 5 millimeters, 8 by 6 millimeters, etc. And if you don't cut your gemstone to that calibrated size, you will have a difficult time setting your stone into the pendant, or if it does fit, it may not look right, or it may not work at all. So in this case, BOPIE needs me to cut a gemstone of just about 8 by 6 to fit into the mounting that the customer has selected. Now, I need a rectangular design. And I showed you in a previous video the secret of the step cut, which is that for a step cut rectangular design, regardless of what the design says, you can cut the length and width to any length and width that you want. And here's a link to that video if you want to learn more about the secret of the step cut. Now, as I look through all my favorite rectangle or emerald shaped gem cutting diagrams, I found an interesting one called Golden Steps by Greg Glenn, and I've cut it before. Not only does this design have one extra row of steps on the pavilion, but this design of the ones I looked at had the smallest, most shallow pavilion of all the designs that I was considering. And oftentimes, or sometimes, when you're working with commercial mountings, the pavilion size matters. So I'll just get the most shallowest pavilion to start with, then I know I won't have any issues getting the gemstone to fit into a commercial mounting.
All right, I'm going to give Light Cure by Helios a try.
I'm going to test out this new product from a company called Helios. This is a super glue which is activated by ultraviolet light. Now in a recent video I tried a similar product. It wasn't a super glue, but it was a adhesive activated by ultraviolet light. But that product was a complete failure for trying to mount a gemstone to a dop. It did not hold at all. So after failing with my first attempt with my previous product, several of my fellow gem cutters contacted me and said that they have been using this product by Helios to attach their gemstones to dops and that they have had no issues and really liked it. So I figured I'd give it a try. Now I have found this Sure Hold, I think is the name of the product, on Amazon, but I've also seen it available on eBay and through other sellers. Now I wish I could say it's cheap, man, it's not. And it's probably because they sell the UV light with the bottle of super glue. So if you didn't need the UV light, I suspect we could get the price to go down. So now, if this product works, I have time to adjust my gemstone and or the dop and make any other minor adjustments after putting on some super glue. And then when I'm ready, after making any adjustments I want, then I just shine the UV light, again, which comes with the super glue, and in seconds, the super glue is rock hard and I can begin faceting right away. And the only thing is I'm not exactly sure how few seconds the UV light needs to be on this super glue, so I'm probably spending too much time putting UV light on the super glue. But I'll adjust that over time.
Good morning, everybody. BOPIE'S again, and here is the update that you guys been waiting for. We got so excited when we received the ring because it took 3 pear-shaped emeralds to be completed. The first one was a little bit too small and was 14 karat. First, we decided we wanted to 14 karat, but as you know, finer jewelry comes in 18 karat, and my customer felt the same way. So we recreated the same ring in 18 karat white gold. So we made a second stone, still was not correct. And finally, we got a third one and we were able to complete. And it looks beautiful. And it's big enough that anyone will notice that it's in her finger, that it's emerald. I hope you like it. Thank you. And don't forget, if you want to see the new editions that we have in the store, you can go to our website, BOPIE'S.com. Happy faceting. Go back to Michael's. Bye.
Since I started out my emerald by taking it to the trim saw and just trimming a very small piece, just a little bit bigger than I need, only a few millimeters bigger, because that piece of rough that I trimmed was so small, I was able to start with my first lap being my 600 grit lap. So I kind of preformed it with my 600 grit, and now I'll go to my 12M. I have to bring the pavilion down just a little bit lower to make a keel here. This will be like a keel of a boat, so that'll be a straight line. So I have to bring it down a little bit lower for that, which will clean this up right here. And then I'll cut the corners last because they're going to cut pretty quick. I finished going over our emerald with a 12M lap, which is about a 1500 grit lap. And it's got a pretty nice pre-polish. So I'll go straight to polish now with my creamway lap and cerium oxide and water mix spray. And we'll polish the pavilion or the bottom half of our emerald. Okay, for this lab created emerald, I found that going from a 12M to polish wasn't enough. My 12M was having problem polishing after the 12M, so I went to my 14,000 grit diamond on a bat lap. And then when I looked at lightning laps, they had some recommendations. And their recommendations were to go to a 14K for a pre-polish. So that's that's what I did. So it seems to track with what other cutters have found. So this is a 14K pre-polish. There's no scratches. I'm going to polish it now. Okay, I finished polishing the bottom half or pavilion of our emerald. Now I'm going to go back and cut in the corners. Now that I've got all the rows lined up just right, I'll go in and cut the corners, and they'll cut pretty quick. And then I'll be done with the pavilion. Okay, I cut the corners in and polished up the pavilion, bottom half of our emerald, and now I will transfer it so we can cut the upper half of our emerald. And I used the creamway lap with cerium oxide spray to polish this up after using 13,000 grit diamond on a bat lap. Okay, I've gone over the first tier of our crown with my 13,000 grit diamond on a bat lap, and that's this row right here. The upper two tiers are pre-polished with my 12M lap, about a 1500 grit, and that shows you the difference between the two. So this 13,000 grit diamond on bat lap's almost a polish, but I'll go over it after and polish it with my creamway lap and cerium oxide spray. Finished polishing the crown other than the table for our emerald, and I use cerium oxide and the creamway lap. So now I'll set up the stone to cut the table and polish the table, and then this emerald will be done. The table polished right up with cerium oxide, and it's because I used my 13,000 grit diamond on a bat lap as a pre-polish. A lot of cutters, especially working with sapphires, use 13,000, 14,000 grit as a polish. So with that as my pre-polish, I didn't have any problem polishing this up with cerium oxide. So now I'll soak it in the acetone and weigh it, measure it, and send it off to BOPIE. For this ultraviolet light activated super glue, the acetone released this super glue from the DOP quicker than normal. It only took several hours. I put it in there and I checked several hours, and it was already released. Generally, I put it in there and the next day it's released, but not an official test, but it certainly released. The acetone certainly ate through this super glue on this one case faster than normal. So I don't know, need more testing, but in this one time it did, and that's a good thing.
In this video, we talked about calibrated gemstone sizes, which you as a gem cutter need to be aware of, especially if you're going to cut normal sized gemstones. Now, if you're cutting your doorknob sized prized gemstone, you don't need to worry about it being a calibrated size. But for smaller gemstones, where you want to use a standard commercial setting instead of trying to create and cast your own settings for each gemstone, then you do need to know about calibrated sizes. In this video, I also tested out a new product, a new superglue product, which is activated by ultraviolet light. I believe it's called SureHold. The company is Helios. SureHold worked like a champ when I mounted the stone to it and when I transferred the stone to cut the crown. No issues at all. And that was good news, because I'd previously tried a similar product, although it was not a super glue, it was an adhesive, ultraviolet light activated, and it was a complete disaster. So it does look like there is another adhesive option available to cutters, UV light activated super glue. So I have cut a number of rectangular emerald shaped designs, and this time for this video I used the Golden Steps design. Now this design has one extra row of steps on the pavilion compared to most of my other favorite emerald shaped designs. And I think this extra row makes the gemstone really stand out. This design is not difficult to cut, and in my opinion, any cutter, even a brand new cutter working on their first gemstone, could successfully cut this design. So give it a try. This was a special order because a customer had a birthday coming up in a couple weeks. BOPIE loves the way the stone turned out, and I'm betting the customer will also love it as soon as it's mounted into the setting. Please let me know in the comments what you think of the gemstone and this design and the ultraviolet super glue. And as always, happy fastening, everyone.